Hello bowlers, today on Think Bowling we'll be making a thumb mold, and in part 2 we'll be drilling a ball and installing that thumb mold, so stay tuned. So when you're doing this process, I like to take an awl, put my scribe lines back into it, and make sure that they're nice and deep so that they're easy to see when you pour the mold. So also, on the back side, so you know which side's the front or the back of the mold, I like to put a mark at the very top. As you can see, it's a little deep mark there. That's going to let you know that that's the back side of the mold every time you have to make a mold. Also, unless the bowler insists, I wouldn't recommend keeping a lot of tape in it, maybe one piece on the front and the back. You can mold as much tape as you want, but you have to remember the person's thumb swells or your thumb swells. You're not going to be able to get that tape in because it's in the mold. So I like to take it out, give you that one, leave one in there if you want, depending on your thumb size. That's to give you a point to where you start taping from. Sometimes if you remove all the tape, might be hard to see on camera, but you can see there's like an outline of your thumb tape in there. And a lot of times that'll carry over into the actual ball itself. Sorry, the actual mold itself when you do the following mold. So anytime you do a mold, there's a gap in between the thumb slug and the bottom of the hole, so you want to make sure that you fill that up, because if you don't, the mixture will seep through the holes, seep through the bottom, and it will be impossible to get that molding material out of there without ripping it. So there's a variety of different ways you can do that. You can just shove paper down in there. I normally wouldn't make a mold in a switch grip, but for this demonstration I'm going to, because this is the most difficult way, and I wanted to show that for that reason. So give me 1 second and we'll get back. So with paper towels being in short demand, I found this padding material, package material. It's not gonna allow the molding material to stick to it, so I cut 2 pieces out, size of my thumb slug. Basically, you push them down in to the bottom of the hole to block the hole, so that the molding material won't come through and the molding material won't lock underneath that slug. There's a slight gap in between the slug and the bottom of the switch grip. There'll be a slight gap in between your slug and the bottom of the hole if you drill a regular hole. The only way there won't be a slight gap is if you drill an IT and want to mold the IT. So thumb hole's locked into place. Potentially, depending on your bevel, you could want to do 1 3/8, but I'm going to do 1 1/4 because I don't have that much bevel. So you want to line up with the white slug. Vice makes cylinders. So you put the cylinder over top, line it up so that it's center. And then I like to take silly putty. I know, silly putty, but silly putty doesn't dry out and it can stay overnight. If you use clay, it's going to dry out and you're going to get one use out of it. So silly putty, kind of roll it out like a little bit. Get it lined up as good as you can. Make sure that you push down on the top to make sure that the cylinder is tight on the ball so that no fluid leaks out of it. It gets underneath there. It'll just make it neater, cleaner when you pull the mold out. Now when you're ready, basically you put make sure that's back the whole way. Put the cartridge in. Put the cartridge in. Slide the top down, lock it into place. Turn the tip off. Set it to the side. Turn and lock that into place. It's a two-part mixture. The two-part mixture will mix as you go. You're going to keep injecting in there. You want to make sure you come up about an inch, I would say 1.5 inches to 2 inches above the top of the ball into the cylinder, because if it's too thin, it'll be very difficult to pull out of the slug once you make it. So you might have some left over. You can save that and use that in other molds, but you will not be able to save the tip. So this tip you must throw in the garbage after each time. And put the top back on, turn it closed, and you can save that for another use if you want. I like to let this sit at least 6 to 8 hours, so I usually let it sit overnight. I do it at the end of the night, go home, and then first thing in the morning when I come in, I start working on it. So we'll pick this up tomorrow. Okay folks, here we are the next morning. The molding material is set. You can put your finger into it, it's stiff. So remove silly putty. Put silly putty back in its case. Remove the cylinder. Make sure the cylinder is clean because you're going to use it to pour molds. So you don't want any excess residue in there. So just clean it out with your finger. If you need to, you can get some paper towel and some alcohol, clean it off. Wiggle it, pull it out. And there you go. There's your molded thumb hole. And as you can see, there's some discoloration there. That's where the tape was. Very lightly on the back side because I don't use a lot of tape on the back, but you can see on the front side there's like a residue there, and hopefully that'll transfer into the mold as well. This material gets slick. It's a little harder to get that out, so remove excess what you can. Use a thumb changing device. Pull it out. As you can see, no material leaked through the bottom, so that's good. There's no material down in the hole either, so that's good, so you don't have to worry about that. And you just get your rubber stopper out. Stopping material. You can sit there, you can leave that and use that for the next one. And you might have like a little bit of residue or something like that. I would just spray some alcohol in there and clean it out with a towel. And there's your thumb mold process done. Okay folks, so I have a measuring cup. We have Vice CS hybrid plug that we're going to use to make the mold. Your thumb mold and your cylinder. So when you put your thumb mold in, basically you're eyeballing it to try to keep it in the center of the slug. I like to put my hand around it so you can kind of see a little bit better sometimes. Once you have that lined up, rough estimate 20 to 20 is what I normally do. and then color if you'd like. Can't really show you how to do 20 on the cup, but obviously count the 20. Any excess plug you can dump into a plug tray or into another bowling ball. Okay folks, so we have 40 total mixture 2020. You're just going to stir it up. You're going to continue stirring until you see it start to, well, you feel it starts to get warm. Then you know the reaction's starting to happen. I like to go both directions. Make sure you get the edges of the cup. Make sure you're against the bottom of the cup as well. So you're getting it all mixed up. And you want to pour the material in just to the bottom of the molded material. Blue molding material. There you go. And then your excess you're going to dump into a plug bowl. So after you pour the plug into that exactation sleeve, you're going to want to let it sit for 20 to 30 minutes to make sure that it's good and hard before you pull it out. So we'll cut to when going to demold the slug. So because we centered the sleeve up around this 1¼ inch slug, we can measure from the top of the 1¼ inch slug up to each finger, and we know exactly where to cut for our thumb slug so that we have an accurate measurement. So you would just place it right here and then measure up to the finger. And I have 4 3/16 plus on my ring finger. And 4 3/16 on my middle finger. Sorry, let me double check that there. Put that back there. Yep, 4 3/16 on my middle finger. So that way you know exactly where to put your cut line for your thumb mold, and it's accurate each and every time. So now we're going to demold the slug. There you have it. As long as your sleeve's new, it should come out pretty easily. Molds out. Set to the side. And there you have it. My thumb mold. Perfect. It's hard to see, but there's a notch back here for the line. And there's a line up here to line it up with. So when you put it in the ball, you know exactly where your line needs to be lined up with when you put it in. So we're going to cut to another example of another mold when I'm installing it so that you can see exactly how to put it into a ball. Thank you for watching part 1, where we made the thumb mold. Be sure to stay tuned for part 2, where we drill a ball and install a thumb mold. Thanks for watching.